Hello and welcome to the Nature for All interview series with George Greene. This interview was made possible by the Nature for All Discovery Zone. My name is Caitlin Brant and I'm from the Canadian Wildlife Federation and an alumni of the Canadian Conservation Corps. I'm joined today with Marie-Philippe Ouellet from Parks Canada and George Greene, the former Assistant Director General of the IUCN, and then the IUCN Council Member for North America and the Caribbean between 2008 and 2016. He was also the chair of the Canadian IUCN Committee from 2012 to 2016. Thank you guys for being here. Today, we're going to be discussing 3 topics surrounding the IUCN, or the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, which is the largest nature conservation organization in the world, with over 17,000 plus members from over 160 countries worldwide. Welcome to part 2 of 3 of our interview series with George Greene. Our second topic is IUCN 1001. In this video, we're going to dive deeper into how the IUCN works and talk a little bit about the World Conservation Congress. So, George, what is the World Conservation Congress? It's a great place to start.
Great, and let me say thanks for the opportunity. I'm happy to be back. The World Conservation Congress, which has been going for a very long time. I think in my career I've been to 10 or 11 of them, dating back to 1988. Which is probably before a lot of you were born. But it's always had, and certainly in the last 20 years, clearly had 2 separate parts, the forum and the members' assembly. The forum is the fun part. It's the substantive part. It's crazy busy, sometimes up to 10,000 people. And this is where the IUCN members come together with business leaders and senior government leaders, all the people from around the world interested in conservation, although not necessarily from the conservation world. It includes sort of high-level things, big shots, speaking about big issues, like what about conservation and trying to integrate economy and conservation. It has many, many workshops. It has pavilions that are standing throughout the whole Congress. It has little cafes where really active, great little discussions can take place. And this Congress has a series of themes, high-level themes, like freshwater, landscapes, climate change. So I would say that the Congress is really, and that's what it is the Conservation Congress. It's where the world comes together to discuss conservation issues. The second, the Members' Assembly. This is the members' business. You may remember that in the first interview, I talked about big decisions and that members take those big decisions. Well, this is it. It happens at the Congress. And this is where the unique governance of IUCN that I spoke about, 2 houses. There are government members and not-for-profit or NGO members. This is where the rubber hits the road, where the real decisions are taken and where this unique governance structure of IUCN really comes to play. Any decision that is taken at the Congress has to be approved by both the government house, i.e. the government members, and the NGO house, the NGO members. If either of those houses fails to approve something, then in fact it doesn't carry. And this is a unique governance arrangement around the world.
George, what are the decisions that are taken there?
So, the big decisions, there's 6 of them. Elections, approval of the quadrennial program, approval of the commission mandates, approval of the 4-year financial plan for IUCN, approval of motions, and awards. So let me give a little bit more detail each of them. The elections are actually very interesting because I mentioned council before is constructed of about 33 to 36 people representing the regions of the world, and these are regional councillors. It includes the 6 chairs of the commissions, and of course it has a president. The second decision-making is a quadrennial program. This is actually the most important, other than the leadership, which is who's going to lead, councillors and president. The program is the next most important decision. It is really what IUCN is going to do, the big direction on what IUCN will do, and actually where it's going to spend its money and where it's going to allocate its resources, its people, both volunteers and staff. The next decision to set are commission mandates, and it is the members' business to approve those. Even though commissions run somewhat independently, the commissions are increasingly part of the program of IUCN, and the statutes call for the mandates of the commissions to be approved by the members. Fourth, we have the 4-year financial plan. And increasingly, money is the big decision, not just because how much matters always important, because that determines how much we can do, but the types of money increasingly determine how the money can be spent and on what kinds of things. And in particular, what we call unrestricted funds, monies that are not tied to particular projects or even particular programs, gives IUCN more flexibility to adapt and do more creative things. The fifth sets of decisions are motions, and then what we call the contentious motions, those that could not be resolved through online debate, will actually come to the floor in the Congress Members Assembly itself. And right now, it looks like there'll be 18 of these. And finally, the IUCN members approve awards. In particular, the John C. Phillips Award, which is the largest, the most important and prestigious conservation award in the world.
Wow, thank you so much, George. That's really informative. I was just wondering, can you tell me more about what the motions are and their importance?
So the motions, in many ways, and certainly for some members, is the heart of IUCN decision-making. I call it the voice and the will of the members are displayed through the resolution, through the motions. Now, let me explain that motions, which are still motions until they're approved, become one of two things. They become a resolution, which is directing parts of IUCN, whether it's the Director General and Secretariat or members to do something. So those are called resolutions. Or recommendations, which are, if you will, bigger policy interest, calling upon the world, calling upon the UN. So resolutions, recommendations. How it really works is that members put forward motions. There's lots of debate. Often those debates are across disciplines, but they're also across interests and positions that different countries, different organizations hold. There's the online process, this online electronic vote, which is actually quite unique and it worked very well last time in 2016 when it was first tried. But the really fun stuff and the hard stuff are the contact groups. Those motions that are really difficult, that couldn't be resolved through online debate, hit the floor. As soon as they're tabled at the Congress in plenary, they are then sent off into what are called contact groups for really hard face-to-face negotiation, often among NGOs having different ideological positions, or between governments and NGOs who differ on how hard actions should be taken. I'm going to come back to that when we can talk about how youth can participate.
Great. And our last question is, can we take 1 minute to discuss about your cap, George?
Oh, okay. I'm actually quite proud of my cap, and maybe you can also see my shirt. It's also about the same topic. Nature for All, the sponsor of this series, is very dear to my heart. And this cap, I don't know, can you see it now?
If you go higher a little bit, maybe. Oh yeah, great.
So this is the Nature for All cap. There are not many of these in the world. They were produced at the last Congress by the Commission on Education and Communication, working with the World Protected Areas Commission to actually commemorate the beginning of Nature for All. I've been a strong supporter of it, but I played some role in actually getting Nature for All approved in the IUCN program. So I felt maybe I earned a hat. I went to the pavilion that Nature for All had, and I actually asked the Canadian lead delegate, Mike Wong, for a hat. And he said, nope, sorry, George, we just don't have enough. So I went above his head. I went to see Sean Southey, the chair of the Commission on Education and Communication, and Sean kindly gave me this, so I cherish this hat.
Love the story, George, and as well as your introduction to Nature for All. That's really interesting. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Okay, how did it work, guys?
Perfect, I think. And I
really
think we have a new guest also.
I know, I'm so sorry. She opened the door. I'm going to get rid of her.
That was a perfect timing.